Hello, everyone. All right, so you've launched your business, and now you're realizing how much work it actually takes to be successful. That's what we're talking about today. Welcome to the Hello Hair Pro podcast. I'm Todd, and I'm here with my wife and business partner, Jen.
Hello.
Hi. I don't know why I said your name so aggressively. But... All right, so today we're going to talk about some common misconceptions about business. We keep seeing this stuff, and some of it's pretty obvious, and then we'll dive into the importance of perseverance, which I think is overlooked. We talk about getting in the reps and all that stuff a lot, but we'll dive into that today, and then we'll wrap up towards the end with some things to think about for steering your business toward success.
Love it.
Yeah. So let's dive into some common misconceptions that people have about starting and running a business.
Okay.
Yeah?
Let's do it.
All right. First is this idea that you're going to be an overnight success.
That's the dream.
That's probably not going to happen.
No, it's like winning the lottery.
Yeah, and when I say probably, it's
not going to happen.
It's not that it can't happen. It's not that it's never happened, but most overnight successes you don't see the first 3, 5, 10 years that people put in.
Right. You recognize them as they become successful.
Right. You didn't know them when they were knocking on doors, passing out, cards or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as overnight success. It takes, having a business is easy. Having a business that's successful or optimizing a business is not easy.
Correct.
It takes a lot of hard work. It takes dedication. It takes time. It takes sacrifice. And you've got to put those things in over time, not just for a week. And then here you are.
And I think you have to define what success would mean to you. And that will change over time.
True. So success, if we want to keep it general, success would be a business that is profiting and a business that has proven itself for, a little bit of time. I don't want to put a time stamp on it, but if you make money, but you've been open for a week, well, let's see where you are in 6 months or a year.
Right.
You might have just lucked out that first month, Well,
and I think statistically, a lot of small businesses don't even make it to year 3. So if you can get past that, you're doing pretty decent.
Yeah, I want to say it's 80% or something ridiculous. That's what I mean. A lot of it in the beginning, you're like, oh, this is great. And, you might have support and all this stuff. But when that fades, what do you do? Where are you at?
Right. When all the glory's gone and you're just like, oh, this is it?
Right.
Wow, this is a lot of work.
Wow. Glad I did this.
Yeah.
So another misconception is that you're going to have this sort of get rich quick.
Correct.
Thing. And a lot of people think that just because you're a business owner, you're rich.
Yes, that's
encountered
not true.
You've encountered that in the past.
I have. Do you want me to talk about it?
No, I'm just sitting here for no reason.
Yeah,
I just assumed that you would expand on that a little bit.
I mean, at my last business that I owned, yes, I had one of the people that worked for me at the time was like, well, I pay your mortgage, because that was not true.
I don't think that's the same thought. How is that being rich?
Oh, well, I guess because I don't know. That's what I was thinking from that. So I guess I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think that people think if you open a business that there's just money, because you have a business, so there's money coming in. I don't think people realize the money that goes out.
Oh, for sure.
You have your top line and bottom line. So your top line is all your money that comes into your business. And then as money moves through your business, whatever's left over is your bottom line, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, if people work for you, all they look at is the money they're bringing in, right?
Yeah, they look at themselves and they think, yeah.
That's why that makes sense.
Right. Another misconception is that opening a business is low risk. So this might come from, in our industry, renting a chair. Renting a chair is low risk. There's no risk. What do you...
There's none at all. You can leave whenever you want.
Right. You can just walk away
somewhere else and
correct.
Just take your stuff.
Unless you sign some sort of lease, but that's your fault.
Right. But it's very easy for you to just pick up your products and move to the next location when you want to.
Right. For most people trying to build an actual business, and I'm not knocking booth rent. I feel like I always have to say this because I'm not trying to knock booth renting. If you rent a booth, that's great. That's a business model that works for a lot of people, and people can be very successful with it. That's totally fine. But it's not a business.
Right.
In a traditional sense.
Yeah. In the definition of it, correct.
Because
you work for yourself, I guess.
Yeah, you work for yourself, which is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the risk thing, if you're trying to build an actual business, there's going to be risk. There's going to be some sort of financial risk. There's going to be risk to maybe relationships where, if you have a business partner, or say not even a business partner, say you're just in a relationship with someone. Well, a business takes a lot of time.
Right.
And that's time that you might have to take from somewhere else.
Right.
So there's so much risk
you're
involved.
Also building out a space and buying all the equipment and getting all the insurance, and then you have to try to fill that space with staff in one way or the other, however your business plan looks like.
Mm-hmm.
That's all on you to do that, and then to pay the bills and keep up with that and make sure you're under all the current laws and regulations. And there's a lot.
Mm-hmm. So so my notes are kind of jumbled here, and I don't know how to say this because how I typed it, like in my notes, is not how you would say it out loud. But one of the misconceptions is that there's not a need for education and experience in regard to business.
Right. Not in
a lot of people think I'm good at doing hair, so I'll be good at running a business.
Right.
Those are two completely different skill sets, two completely different mindsets, mm-hmm. two completely different everything.
Yeah.
You need experience and so if you're thinking, how would I get experience if I've never owned a business? Right. By owning a business or by running someone else's business. Mm-hmm. There are management positions and different things that you can do. Working behind the chair does not give you experience in running a business. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't.
Right. Or hire a mentor to at least walk you through what.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Would look like running a business so that you can start to prepare yourself. Because if you can't take on a management position, or that's not like, if you're, I don't know, if that's not available to you, there's still ways to open a business, and you can use different, I guess, tools mm-hmm. to at least learn about it. Maybe not have the experience part, but.
You mean I'm sorry, I was looking ahead at my notes, and so you are talking about if you can't manage a business? What did you say? Because
you said you would need experience, but if a management role isn't coming up, but you're like, I want to run a business,
right.
Your experience, you may not have that running it, but you can use other tools to at least get yourself ready.
Gotcha. The next thing I had over here was that anyone can be an entrepreneur. So entrepreneur, first of all, buzzword, business owner, whatever. I don't really care what you want to call it, but I feel like entrepreneurs are a dime a dozen. Everybody is an entrepreneur, right? Especially on Instagram these days. And look, like we talked about a second ago, you need a different skill set, and it's a unique skill set. And there are personality traits, I think, that come along that help entrepreneurs or help successful business owners that not everyone has. Mm-hmm. We don't all have the same access to the same brains, the way we operate. We don't all have the same personality traits. We don't have access to just switch our personality traits. Mm-hmm. And some people, now, if we have any listeners that have listened back for any length of time, you've heard me say a bunch of times, like, I think everyone should try running a business. Mm-hmm. That's to gain some insight into how difficult it is. It's to gain insight into the opportunities that you might expose. It's for all that stuff. It doesn't mean that I think in any way, shape, or form that if somebody opens a business that they're going to be successful. Because we know the stats, and the stats are most of you listening will not be successful at running a business.
Unfortunately, it's just
math. But it is, right, it's math, and it is what it is.
You may not even enjoy it. You may think that you would like to do all of that stuff. And then it comes down to it and you're like, wow, this really is taking away from my craft, or it's just not as enjoyable as I expected it to be, or it's more work than I expected.
That's a whole other topic right there, is that it's going to take away from your craft. So let's add that into our common misconceptions. Owning a salon doesn't necessarily mean you get to do a whole bunch of more hair.
Right.
So if you're someone that's like, I love the craft, I love doing hair, that's what's most important to me, then you may not want to own a business.
Right.
Because that's going to eat up some of your time. The things that you have to do, that you're obligated to do, aren't negotiable.
Right.
They have to get done. And that time has to come from somewhere. So where is it coming from? It's most likely going to come from time you have behind the chair.
Right.
Now,
or you're putting in more hours.
Most people are going to make the huge mistake, as I was just going to say, of just trying to like add more time to their day. It's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to fatigue. It's going to lead to stress on your relationships. It's going to lead to not taking care of yourself. It's going to lead to a whole bunch of problems. So don't do that, but hey, do what you want. All right. And the last thing I had on the list of misconceptions was that you get to keep all of the money.
Yeah, that's a big one.
This couldn't be any further from the truth.
I can't stand when I see posts on that. You can keep all the money. Yeah, if you want to be arrested by the tax guy or get kicked out of your lease because you got to pay people or not have any product.
Right. You have to pay. Yeah. How are you having shampoo?
Right.
You're just going to have that for free?
Yeah. All the money that comes in, there is a major percentage of that will go to your products, your back bar, your taxes, your rent, your insurance. No matter what.
Did you say lawyer?
Your lawyer, your accountant,
Did you say
your plumber.
Therapist?
Yeah. There's a lot that goes out. And as soon as you start paying that out, you're like, you probably, if you're newer at this, are like, wow, I didn't realize how much money went out. I just saw the money coming in.
That's because you lack experience. Of course you didn't see it.
Yeah. Anyone who thinks they get to keep all the money, that is a fairy tale. That sounds wonderful.
I see that lately as a target towards naive salon employees that are toying around with the idea of renting a chair, who look at these ads from, the booth renting salons of the world, which, hey, do your thing. I'm not knocking you. Do your thing. But you are 100% misleading people.
Correct.
And that's not cool. But hey, if you want to operate your business without integrity, I was trying to think of something nice to say, but I couldn't come up with it.
That's just true.
Yeah, I think you're a scumbag, to be honest with you, if you're telling people they get to keep 100% of their money. Because you should know as a business owner, and if you don't, you're too new at that to be telling other people what to do. So...
And you don't want to see someone fall flat on their face. Like, it's not fair.
I don't know if a lot of people care, to be honest with you.
I care too much. I already know that.
I think as long as you're paying for your rent, I don't think they give a shit if you're successful or not.
Yeah, you're probably right, because there's someone else that will come in after you. So.
I also don't care. Give me my $300 a week or whatever it is, and I don't even know how much rent is, but
that's all over the place.
Give me my few $100s a week, and I don't care what you do. All right. So anyways, we wanted to address these misconceptions to help people understand that starting and running a business is difficult, to say the least.
Yeah. Not that you can't do it, but these are things you should be aware of, and don't go in with your eyes closed thinking, I can just do this.
And it's a challenging process that takes a lot of time and effort. And that's just another way of saying you got to put in the reps.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time. You want to get better at something, you have to do it. You have to put in the reps.
Yep.
And it's reps over time. That's the equation.
Yeah.
Put in the reps over a certain amount of time, and you'll improve. How many reps can you fit into a day? That's up to you. How long do you need to go? That's dependent on how many reps you can fit into a day. I don't know. All right, so let's dive into and take a look at the importance of perseverance when it comes to success in business.
Yes.
So perseverance, first of all, it just means that you're doing something despite the difficulty. So you're going to have difficulties. We know that. Despite that, can you persevere? And also, I looked up perseverance because I wanted to make sure we're using the correct word here, but it also has to do with a delayed lack of success, which is over time. This is not a sprint.
It's a marathon.
Yeah. You talk about that a lot.
Well, because I have to remind myself of that a lot.
I was going to just say, you talk about it because
Yeah.
You do not like that.
I like the sprints. I want like instant gratification. I want
Oh,
everything
of
right now.
course. Don't we all?
So yeah. So when I have my reactive moments where I got to feel what I got to feel and then grow and move on and change my mindset, I remind myself it's a marathon.
Good job, Jen. So zen of you. All right. So what does perseverance allow you to do? It allows you to overcome obstacles because you'll stick to it, you know?
Right. You might have a freak out moment, but the point is that you return, you reevaluate, you reassess, and you know what your vision, your mission, your core values are, and you stick to your course, or
You persevere.
yeah, you keep going. It's very important.
Yeah. It's just so running or launching a business is you're going to have so many challenges, so many curveballs. I don't
And
even
you can't
know.
plan for all of them. Most of them, you have no idea what's going to come
No, you
at
can't. I mean, it could
Even
be.
if you try, it could be the complete opposite.
Right. And you could have a perfect plan, but you didn't account for like an ice storm that shuts down things for 4 days.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about that. You have to be able to continue despite being shut down for 4 days or whatever example I just used. But that's impossible to predict when you set out. We've faced challenges and obstacles where we've shown up to the salon and there's no power because the power company was changing out panels or whatever the hell they were doing that day.
Yep. And then they didn't have the piece to fix what was broken.
And then, right. That was the worst.
Yep.
But what did we do? We just got to work moving clients and
You figure it
alerting
out.
staff and don't come in. Like we have no power. Water's cold. This sucks. But guess what?
Here we are.
They're saying we'll be back tomorrow, so we'll try again tomorrow. But that shit happens. And what are you going to do? Try to persevere, try to push through it and keep going. Perseverance also allows you to have a long-term mindset. So we talked about it earlier. It takes time.
Yeah, that's that
This is
marathon. Think about that.
Yeah. And you have to be able to stay focused during that time too. You can't just this isn't downtime.
Right.
You're expected to be doing something, be taking actions.
Yeah, always working
through this whole marathon. And it might not be at a sprint pace, but you're definitely doing stuff. It's not nonchalant. You're not just sitting around and you're like, oh, my business will grow.
Right.
No.
Right. And
it won't.
You can't have, if you do hit a wall or something that comes up, let's say a curveball that you weren't planning for or didn't think could happen. I find if you're like me, I have a spaz attack and I think I'm going to change 50 things right now overnight and that's going to make everything better. And it's not. The spaz attack has to go. Again, you have to go back and focus on the vision, the mission, the core values, and know that you're on the right course for your business. And there may be a few things you have to change, but you don't have to change your whole entire business just because you hit one pothole. So sometimes there is a moment, I think, if you're, like I said, like me, where you might just have to take a breath and have a Zen moment and okay, we're still on course. It's just we hit a bump. That's all.
I have two thoughts. So one, the course thing that you just said stuck in my mind because sometimes you're going to not be on course. Sometimes you're going to look and you're going to say, things are not good. Either financially or you're up against some sort of deadline or you have a challenge or even your mental state. You might look at one day and be like, I am not okay today. And all of that stuff is great because my second thought, which was this whole perseverance thing, allows you to become resilient.
Correct.
So the more you work through these obstacles, the more you keep that long-term vision, the more you keep just churning, just keep moving your legs, right? Like a running back in football. Yeah. And so what is resilience? It's just your ability to recover quickly from things. So things are going to come up. You know that. And that is pretty powerful. It's when people try to avoid everything and they put their head in the sand.
Yeah, that's the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah, where you're like, oh, this stuff will just go away. I'll wake up one day and I'll be successful.
Yeah, no, it'll just keep compounding.
No,
it's way worse.
Right. If you ignore stuff, it's going to get worse. One. And two, you can't progress unless you're active, unless you're doing something. So we talk about education a lot where people will accumulate all this knowledge, but they're not doing anything
Right.
with it. So you just wasted your time. So you've taken 12 classes last year that were online and you've applied 0 techniques
Right.
to clients. So what did you do last year? You wasted 12
You just have a
hours
bunch
worth
of pieces of paper.
or 12 classes worth of time. Yeah. And it's important to become resilient too. And we'll talk about pivoting in a second. These kind of carry over, but not every decision, not every strategy, not every plan that you create, not every person you hire is going to have a positive outcome on your business.
Mm-mm.
Some of them are going to have a negative impact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over time with experience, you can minimize that.
Right.
Where you take a step back and you're like, last time I reacted this way, or last time I got excited about this, or last time I made a snap judgment, it didn't work out so great.
Right.
So let me sleep on it, or
Yeah.
let me think about it for a week or weekend or whatever,
Right.
you know?
Change that habit.
Yeah. Like
For sure.
you get better at it, but it doesn't stop happening.
Right. It's a work in
I
progress.
think that's one of the big things to take away is that this doesn't end. You're not going to set up a business unless you set up your business for complete autonomy, which is a completely different thing. I'm assuming that people are listening that are into hair and they want to continue to do
Right.
hair. So we'll stay away from that for now. Maybe
I
we can
think-
address that in the future, but
Sure. I think if you look at running a business or life, and you'll remind me of this often, it's all about peaks and valleys. So if you're having a high and you've got a couple great weeks, enjoy them while they're there because that's not going to last. Your whole business is not going to be all highs. And same for the lows. If you're hitting the lows for a couple weeks, realize that's not going to be the whole lifetime of your business. You will come out of it and you'll climb back up the hill to the next high. You just got to ride it out. And that's the perseverance that's like so important.
yeah, another thing that's useful for people, you can do it as a thought experiment, or go ahead and look at your financial statements. A graph is really useful for this, a line graph, because it's visual and it's easy to digest when you look at it. But take a step back or zoom out. So too often people will look at their day, right? And this is pretty bad, but this is how most people live. So they look at their day and they're like, this sucks. Everything's down. My numbers are down. Well, if you zoom out to your week, is that still true?
Right.
Now, maybe the answer is yes. But when we zoom out to a quarter, are your numbers up or are they down?
Right. And you have to look at it like that.
If they're down, if I zoom out to a year, are things still down?
Right.
Because it's possible that you're in just the slowest season for your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be slow, whatever, in the fall. Say October, you're slow because you're ramping up for the holiday, whatever. I'm just guessing here on just using it for an example. But well, when you look at October every year, it's going to be down. When you look at the quarter, that quarter is going to start out down.
Mm-hmm.
But if you zoom out for the year, is it up over, and then compare it to the previous year?
Right.
Is it up from that last October? Because that's really what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Or are all the other quarters up, even though that one is down? There's different ways to look at it, but you have to be able to step back. The other thing you have to be able to do, and I don't know that this is negotiable, but you've got to be able to learn from failure.
Yes, that's going to be a hard one. Nobody wants to fail, but
you're going to. You're
unfortunately,
you're going to fail more,
Yeah.
especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And if you aren't, that's because you're not doing anything. You're not trying to optimize a business.
Right.
Because I'm sure there are people listening and they're like, well, I set up my, booth rental and I haven't had any problems. Right. Because you're not trying to optimize a business.
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to grow a business.
Right.
You're just trying to work.
right.
Which you're doing, and that's great and good for you. But it's two different things.
Correct.
And I think that's important for this industry to start to understand and wrap their heads around. Because as people age, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You don't have, it's a different topic. Let's not dive into that now. But I do think it's important for people to realize, and I've had this conversation with a handful of people that I respect in the industry, and they've all agreed with me.
Oh, the best lessons come from that. Not that you want to fall on your face, but you kind of need to in order to literally have growth as a human being. Like that's just how that goes.
Well,
and it's uncomfortable, but it's where it's at.
And I do agree with you, but at the same time, some people don't want it. So that's totally fine too. But you're not a business owner.
Right. You're just working, like you said, just
right.
worker.
And again, I'm not attacking. I think it's great.
Yeah.
There are some days I wish I could just do that. I'm just kidding. It wouldn't be for me, but I know it works for a lot of people. And we'll talk about it soon. So I think it's a good topic. And it's definitely going to ruffle feathers. Probably get a lot of downloads for that episode. All right. What else does perseverance allow you to do? It forces you to adapt to change, and it increases, I would say, we use the word pivot. So your ability to pivot.
Yep. Because
you're getting forced into the constantly changing landscape of business.
Right. And if you do not adapt and you do not pivot, then you're stuck way back in wherever you stopped doing that. And unfortunately, that's just like a dying business.
Yeah, if you're not adapting and changing and pivoting and growing and innovating, you are becoming stagnant and complacent. And we say it probably every episode now, but that's one of the silent killers of business, complacency, because things are going good now. Oh, it's the next month. Things are going pretty good. Oh, it's next year. Things are okay. Mm-hmm. Well, you haven't done anything. So okay to good is now you're slipping.
Right.
And you're regressing. And before long, I mean, I've seen personally businesses die long, slow deaths because they just sit there and do nothing. And maybe people are making money, but it's never going to increase.
Right.
It's never going to become stable. Mm-hmm. It's never going to become any sort of
profitable even at that point.
Yeah, profit, for example, or you're never going to achieve any sort of autonomy. So you can't really step back from your business. It's just another common problem.
Right.
In this industry. You want to take a week off, you've got to work harder the week before and harder the week after. That's not taking a week off. That's just moving your week to a different week. Mm-hmm. And success in business, it's not guaranteed. This is why we're talking about perseverance now. So it takes a lot of time, reps, and determination. And I want to point out too, before we move on to some thoughts for success, which is like the good stuff, the fun stuff to talk about, that it doesn't, so persevering isn't doing the same thing over and over, but instead doing what we talk about a lot, which is moving forward, learning, adapting, and innovating to whatever situation might come up. Anything else on that? Perseverance? No?
No, I think you...
I nailed it?
Yeah.
I'm the best podcaster of all time?
Sure. You should have an award.
Where's Joe Rogan? I think he's got the top podcast ever, right?
Now you're pushing it, but...
All right, come on. All right, so let's talk about some thoughts for success.
All right.
Oh, pro tips. I don't like to call them tips, but...
I like pro tips.
Hair pro tips.
Yeah.
So these are practical and actionable steps that you can take to increase your chances of success in business. Now, if you pair these with perseverance and that long-term open growth marathon mindset, your odds go way up. Mm-hmm. Most people are just going to give up too soon or not want to put in the work or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that just drastically reduces your odds of ever achieving any sort of success,
right?
Regardless of how you define it. So the first thing that what do we always talk about?
Have a business plan.
Yeah, you need your foundations, we call it, but I don't care what you call it. You have to develop a strong business plan. Mm-hmm. That is your roadmap.
Yeah.
That is going to describe your business. It's going to outline your goals. It's going to allow you to form strategies and tactics and build out your plan.
Yeah, you should know for however many days a week you are open or however many hours a week you are open, you should know how much you need to generate within that to make enough to stay open and then enough to be profitable. If you don't know that, figure it out.
Yeah, so that's definitely part of your plan. You got a little specific there. That's great. That is all important stuff to know. Financials. I don't even think we have that on here. But we do talk about it a lot. You have to understand your financials. You do not need to be a math wizard. You do need a math wizard on your team.
Right. You
do need an accountant that can explain things to you and help you understand things, because you should be having the conversations with them the conversations with them. Let me start that sentence over. You should be having conversations with them regarding your goals, the goals of your business. And if they can't explain what that looks like or what you need to do or how you can achieve that, then find somebody else.
Correct. When you know your numbers, the stress of running your business does go down immensely because you know what you need to do daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, so you can really understand how you're operating.
Right. And one of the issues I think goes back to why people don't do that is because they want to stick their head in the sand because the numbers can be scary at first. Correct. Because if you're like, I need $500 a day for my business to break even. You might be like, well, I have some days where I don't even do close to $500. Right. Now you know you need to fix that.
Right.
And I understand that's scary, but what else is scary is like
just not even knowing.
Your landlord being like, hey, you haven't paid. You're out of here. Like, which one's more scary? Right. Having to do work or not having the opportunity anymore to do work, not having the option. So don't take it away from yourself. The next thought I had here was to network. So building a strong network, whatever that is in the industry or out of the industry, as far as lawyers and whatever, they don't have to be hair lawyers. They just need to be a lawyer that understands business. Your accountant, all that stuff, it sets you ahead.
Absolutely.
You're not doing it alone.
Right. And if anything comes up, you know who to reach out to help you. Yeah, rather than trying to find that person scurrying in the last minute.
Yeah. And you need specialists. So if you're going to run a business, here's one way to think about it. And this isn't mine. It's from a book or somebody, I heard it somewhere, but specialists work for generalists. So you have to understand the basics of your accounting. You have to understand the basics of your compliance with the law. You do not need to know every detail. You need to work with someone that knows every detail or knows how to find out every detail.
Right.
That's what you need. You need a specialist who can break things down for you quickly into digestible thoughts that you can then leverage. I think that's
makes sense.
So yeah, networking. Also, like making connections with other owners isn't a bad idea.
Yes.
I think it's good to talk to other owners. You talk about getting outside of your industry a lot, or I do too. We both kind of talk about that a lot, but
I think it's really important.
Other business owners, I think it helps because you can have conversations that are aligned. So it's cool to talk to other hairstylists, but if you don't own a business, eventually the conversation sort of like, me personally, I don't want to just talk about hair with somebody. It gets old very quickly for me. So
also in some situations as an owner, you need to know whether you are like that you're not alone. Like other owners might be like, oh, I went through that at this point.
Right. And so I was going to say, by keeping like-minded people in your circle, you'll realize you're not alone. That's what I was going to say.
Sorry.
That's okay. I don't care. I think we were talking about it this morning. That's why it was like right on my front of my brain.
Or maybe you are alone and it is now time to make a change and you now just kind of got the permission to be like, wow, yeah, I do need to change that. This should not be happening in my business.
I don't mean alone as far as by yourself. I mean alone as far as like, you're not the only person that's problems happen to. You're not the only person to feel this way.
Yeah.
You're not the only person to encounter challenges. Like you are not.
And someone might have insight how they persevered through it.
Yeah, exactly.
That word's hard for me to say.
Or just someone to bounce ideas off of. Like, hey, what would you do? So a business owner or somebody that operates a business is going to understand the problems that you have, even if you don't understand, even if they don't quite grasp the specifics. And that's why we started off talking about how running a business and doing hair are two different things. Like when I talk to somebody that owns a restaurant, they don't have to understand the angle of your clippers to help you with common problems that a business might face.
Right.
They don't have to understand the technical skill. Just like I don't have to understand how to plate pork chops, but I can help them when it comes to marketing. Right. Because that all carries over. That's all similar. All right. Next thought. And we're here for you if you need some help, but seek out some mentorship. And this doesn't mean that you have to pay somebody to mentor you or coach you, but you can. There's lots of people out there. Find a mentor that has experience and knowledge that is specific to you and your goals.
Agreed.
I would highly recommend finding somebody that's either been there or is there, because there are a lot of people that are business mentors in all industries, but in this one too. For example, there are a lot of salon business mentors that don't own a salon business.
And never have.
Right. And they never have.
Yeah.
There are some, I saw a woman recently that she owned a salon for, I want to say it was like 18 years. And she retired from that to help people with their salons. Right. That's cool.
Yeah.
But if you've never done it, I don't know how you could relate.
Right.
On quite the level. Like, yes, you're a human. You understand things like frustration, becoming overwhelmed.
Yeah, you could relate as
having sad days,
maybe a
becoming
business
angry.
model, but not as that specific.
Right. And I think it's important to have a mentor that you can relate with, because they can say to you something like, I've been there, and they can share like a story or something that helped you get through, and it just humanizes it maybe. I don't know if that's the right way, but to say it,
makes you feel normal.
That's what I said, so it's got to be right.
It's got to be.
All right, so another thought here to help you on your journey is that you've got to continuously be learning. Mm-hmm. So in the hair world, right, it's constantly changing. There's always these new trends and techniques and all this stuff, and everyone wants you to use whatever the most recent reverse balayage, smoky highlight, whatever. No one cares.
That was good.
But same things happen with business.
Yeah.
There are trends, there are ups and downs, there are recessions, there are different things that you're going to have to deal with, and they're not going to just come in this perfectly packaged cycle. They're going to come out of nowhere. There's going to be new technology that breaks in. I'm working with a bunch of new technology for some other business stuff outside of the hair world, but like, if you're not willing to learn about that stuff, you're going to get left behind.
Right.
That's where you become, again, complacent.
Yeah,
it all kind of goes back to the same stuff.
It also goes back to the beginning where you might be loving the craft as a hairstylist. You open your salon and then you're like, wow, I don't really enjoy running the business part. I just want to do hair.
Yeah.
So that's part of it, because
now
you have
like
to
that.
work on your craft and work on your business, and you've got to find the time to do both. And
good thing you can keep 100% of the money.
Right. At this point, you're probably going to have to put more time into learning how to run your business than you can to your craft. So now what happens? And these are just things that become a struggle.
Yes. Struggle for everyone too. I don't care who you are.
Agreed.
If you haven't faced a struggle, you haven't been doing this long enough.
Right.
Or you're just burying your head in the sand thinking shit's going to just go away. All right. Next thought is that, again, we talk about this stuff a lot, but be flexible and adaptive. Mm-hmm. So your ability to pivot is it's vital.
Yep.
Because you don't know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And that's okay.
And not everything you choose to do is going to work out for the best. So you're going to have to be flexible to that and adapt and change your ways. And you might get butthurt for a second, but you got to get over it. Like,
you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. It's just how it's going to be.
All right. So last one here, and then actually I have another one.
Okay.
I'm just making a note so I don't forget. All right. So this is going to help you. We know that running a business can be is stressful. We know that you're going to have challenges. We know you're going to have things that are unexpected. We know all this stuff. So how do you deal with that? Stay organized.
It's a big one.
So you've got to keep track of stuff. Just as we talk about like understanding your financials, you have to understand your calendar. You have to and not like your bookings for your salon, but that too. You have to keep track of your deadlines. If you have meetings, which you will, you've got to keep track of that. You have to keep your thoughts organized. I don't know. There's tons of technology and apps and things that you can use. Experiment with stuff, play with stuff. I don't care what you use. I'm sure. I've heard from people that are like, you have to use this app. It's the best. Everyone thinks their app is the best.
Or like a standard planner.
Yeah, you use paper planner.
Yeah.
That's great.
And then we have a big white calendar.
Yes, we have different ways to organize thoughts. And here's another tip. We have several different ways because like we fell behind on the whiteboard calendar in our office, but we have other calendars. Mm-hmm. We have other notes. We have other things that we can check. Yes. And then the last thing that popped into my head actually here was that your success or failure is completely independent to everyone else. You own it. Mm-hmm. So if the salon across the street is successful, it does not mean you're going to be successful or not successful.
Correct.
If the salon across the street fails and closes, unless the neighborhood's burning down or something and everyone's moving out, I don't know. Like that has no impact on you. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important, and I think it's time for people to start realizing that you can do well without that opposite.
Right.
Without someone doing bad.
Right. Someone doesn't have to do bad in order for you to do better.
Yeah.
You can both equally do well.
Right. And so I don't want to get into like economics or anything crazy, but you have to understand that there's unlimited money. There's not like $1 million for your town to split, and when someone has $1 million, everyone else has $0. That's not how money works. So there's plenty of space, but most people just aren't going to make it based on the stats, based on the math. And I think that it breaks down to they're not willing to put in the work. They're not willing to put in the reps. And if they are, they're not willing to do it long enough.
Right.
So I guess sort of in closing, we had touched on the misconceptions, which is cool. But I guess in closing that we could talk about the importance of that perseverance over time. You really need to put in the reps, and you need to put in the reps for what we call it an honest effort. And you can define that because it's going to be different for everything. Like when we committed to our podcast, it was a year. We were like, let's do it for a year and see what happens. Mm-hmm. That's not a small commitment.
Right.
But looking at it, it's like maybe we're going to need 18 months to 2 years to get this where we actually want it to be. And now we're realizing maybe it's like 18 months, but it could be up to like 3 years. Right. Who like there's certain, I'm not saying that specifically for us, but it's as you look at things and then you're presented with that. Now, are you willing to do it?
I was going to say, then we had to adapt. Can we commit to that? Do we have the flexibility in our schedule to do that? Like that's something like, where do we go? And that's a conversation we had. And
yeah, at the beginning of the year.
Had to reevaluate.
It is the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Reevaluate
so recently.
That too. And that's just, it's always ongoing.
For sure. Do we have anything else?
No, I think that was great.
All right. Power to the people. I don't know why that was so funny.
Don't either.
All right. So this episode, why is there pop-ups? This episode is brought to you by Ping Pong Design and Marketing. If you want to love your website again, you're looking for a new website, or you're looking for more clients to fill your business, reach out to Ping Pong
Marketing.
Ping Pong's offering our audience a special discount. So reach out to Chris, talk to him about your needs, and he will get you leads. That's really how
it works.
It works. That's how simple it is. So reach out to them, let them know we sent you. Or go through the link. There's a link in our show notes. That's all I got.
Okay. Have a great day or night or morning.
Let's get out of here.
Whenever you're listening.
Bye.